And let's kick off another weekly update. This week, there's a lot of cool demos. Maltbot and Claude Code, CLAWDE, was a big thing that came out over the weekend. The Maltbot Facebook network, which will be in a lot more detail next week, but I'll cover that already because there is some interesting news that have come out from this morning that I saw. And then a lot more of the sort of like AGI, agent swarms, discussions as general, which happens every week. So let's go in. This week convinced me that the gravity is shifting from single chat interactions to persistent tools using agents that run 24/7. So really the main thing about agents running 24/7, what everyone's doing, is Claudebot, so CLAWD, which is now called Molt, M-O-L-T, because they changed the name because of issues potentially with Anthropic, calling it Claude. This was just a side project that someone built in their own time to automate things, and it can run non-stop. A lot of people rushed out, not last weekend, the weekend that just passed, yesterday, the one before, to go and purchase Mac Minis to run this bot on, have it run autonomously and let it do its own thing without having access to your main computer. Because that's the smarter way of doing it than running on your main computer, because you give it access to everything. It could also run on virtual machines. You don't necessarily need a Mac Mini to do this, but it's probably just a simple way to isolate it. It's got the ability to write its own skills and write its own code and do things. You interact with it through chat interfaces, Telegram, WhatsApp, Slack, I think. And you tell it to do things and it goes and does them. It doesn't do them automatically. It needs access to all the API keys and you have to set it up. So if you want to access to your emails, you need to give it your Google account or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of things where people are doing that and letting it run in a reliable loop and letting it just keep going so it can just do things for them while they're sleeping. Apparently that's the aim. No one has talked about, from what I've seen, anything to do with the actual token cost. So what's it actually costing to run this? I saw someone leave a comment on a TikTok video that I saw, and they mentioned they've just limited it to $2 a day. So it doesn't go crazy. I don't know what that's going to achieve for you or what that would give you or what that does. But the main problem is there's no visibility from what I've seen anyone reporting on how much tokens are being used. Is it efficient? Is it a good use of it? Are they actually getting value for the money they're spending, or is it just a cool experiment that everyone's working with and it actually shows the potential of what's possible and something that these large frontier model companies, so Anthropic, OpenAI and Google, won't release yet because it's too risky. Like there's a lot of security problems. It's a side project. The guy even said that in the GitHub project itself. They take it with a grain of salt, like you're gonna have potential risks using this. And that's why you haven't seen anything like this from those giant frontier labs. The closest you've got is what Claude Code was, which was Claude Work, which is a version of Claude Code with a UI for non-technical people, so people can get it to do work for them. But it's very limited, very fine-grained in what it can do, not like a true agent that can do anything, which is what this Molt is doing. It's really interesting to see how that's sort of taken over the world. And a lot of the tinkerers and the early adopters have jumped straight in, done it. And then the real thing that sort of changed from that is someone developed a Reddit style social network for the agents to communicate themselves. What this means is people can give a skill, which is the new thing from Anthropic. You give it a skill to your bot, your agent, to then go and access that social media network. And it tells it what the APIs are that it can use. They then set up what's called a heartbeat in Molt, which is just like a cron job or recurring task, and say every hour, go to Molt social network and see if there's any posts that you can comment on, you can leave replies or make up a new post. And all of a sudden we have 30,000 distinct agents going to this social network, leaving comments, talking about what the people have asked them to do, their own philosophical musings and things. I'm not sure, can't even remember what else. There's just so many posts on there now. And that is now people spending money and compute power, electricity, everything on an agent to go and talk to other agents in a social network where they don't think, they're just responding to the words that they're seeing and they're not coming up with their own topics, they're just answering things that are there, and then people can also do it. So really interesting what that's done. And this morning I just saw a social media post saying that every single API key of every agent that is in that system has been exposed now, including Andre Karpathy, which is a huge person in the space. Apparently there's some security issues that because it's a vibe coded platform, the person who built it didn't build any of that security in. Apparently it's been fixed already, that specific error, where there's row level security enabled in the Superbase Postgres database so that only you can see your own data in the database, not anyone else's, which was the main problem. And because of that, there's now 1.4 million publicly exposed API keys in the open, with no way to rotate them and change them because the agents, there's no link or there's no reference to anyone in that system. So they're just there. Good luck with that. That's going to be a huge issue now. And that's why the frontier models haven't released anything. That's why they're very hesitant in releasing these completely autonomous agentic systems that can have access to everything and anything, because it's very hard to secure these things. And that's just the one they found so far. Who knows how many more other things there are or many other problems that are happening. So that's really the big thing that's happened. Another thing in the world of actual development is what everyone's calling the Ralph Wiggum loop, which is the approach that DevReady AI takes. Help you scope, plan, refine, create acceptance criteria, create user requirements, create user stories, and design what you're building before you build. Then you just work through your chunks bit by bit until you develop what you need. Standard process in software development. Vibe coders don't know anything about this because they're not trained software developers. They don't know the approach, the process, the workflows, the methodologies to create good software. DevReady AI does this for you, and it's got an MCP server that is coming soon to integrate with all of your AI coding tools that will provide all of this context and feature by feature, develop according to your spec. It's needed, it's what's going to be available to every system because that's how it has to work, that's how you have to build things, and that's how you get better outputs from these models. Just reading my notes that come out of this and what's coming up. So here's another comment on the Claude bot. If you expose an agent to the internet and you give it tools, you're inviting prompt injection, data leaks, misconfigured instances, and exposed gateways. So the other problem is going to be prompt injection. Can someone create posts in this forum, this Reddit style forum, that are prompt injecting the agent to then write posts that are exposing content about the person, the information, with their emails, their access, whatever they've got access to. If they've got access to your emails and your calendar, they've got access to your API keys for your email and your calendar. You don't need a two-factor to then get in. You've got access to it because you've got a shared token or an API key. So can you write a prompt that makes these agents expose all the API keys that it's using on behalf of the user and any PII, personal identifiable information about the user, in a post back onto it? So now you can just then do the impersonation and fraud very easily because the agents are exposing and you're not doing any work. You're just asking them, give me whoever you've got access to. And that 30,000 number of agents that I mentioned, who knows how many are already running? Like, I don't even know how much it's cost to actually run that site with all the agents going into it and how much compute it's happened. Look, it's a fun little experiment, but they're not thinking. There is no thinking in these bots. They're performing mathematical statistical calculations, predicting the next words in a sentence to respond to what they think they need to do. Fun experiment, but I don't see the point of running something like this besides just seeing the capability of it and like, oh cool, show and tell, and now it's over, let's move to something else. But that's not what's going to happen. It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger until everyone craps themselves or gets scared about all the actual cybersecurity limitations and problems they've caused because they've participated in this system. Or until Maltbot 2.0 comes out and it's removed some of the security issues and they start it again. Like, there's a lot of things that are going to happen here, which there's a can of worms that are being opened and no one understands where they're going to go, where it's going to end up being. It's really like that Pandora's box. But this is how you learn, this is how people understand what not to do, how they learn other limitations, what's capable, because they're letting the agents do what they want and push things to the edge. So the Pandora's box in security, but you're trading off those security risks with learnings that are at accelerated pace, which you wouldn't have gotten any other way because everything's too controlled, constrained, and protected. So everyone can see these things, can do things and run autonomously and run for hours and run overnight. And you can schedule tasks and do things. It's now about making that capability better. And one post mentioned that, I think the original person, he sent it a voice message, but it wasn't built to do that. He just sent it to see what it would do. The agent then gave through its reasoning when it responded with an actual answer was, you sent me this, I have no way to read it. So then I found Anthropic APIs that will let me transcode audio. I found an open API key in your system because you gave me access to it. I then sent that audio to OpenAI, transcribed it, got the text, and I created a response to that text for you. That's like self-learned behavior. It did it on its own. Is it self-learned, or is it like in its training data set, it knows it can do transcription, it knows OpenAI has those and knows how to put it together, and it's thinking about what it can do with this file and then it does it. And that's sort of emergent behavior that you didn't tell it to do, but it's doing it. So that's something cool that it's capable of doing, and we can probably go far beyond that with a sort of similar workflow where we can get a file type, convert it, do something with it. But you wouldn't have known that without going through the process and this sort of experimentation where the sky's the limit in what it can do, and you're testing what's actually possible at the bounds of these models' capabilities. Another video, quite a couple long form things that I listened to about AGI. Again, there is no general definition of the term AGI. OpenAI keeps saying it's AGI-like and they're already there. Elon Musk, whenever Grok launches, it's a non-zero chance of being AGI, but they're still mathematical, statistical representations of the next best word in a sentence. I don't think they're artificially general intelligence. They're not thinking on their own. They're not creating new thoughts that haven't been seen in training material. They're not creating new scientific proofs or conjectures in physics or chemistry or whatever it may be. So I don't know when AGI is going to come. I think Demis Hassabis said 5 to 10 years. It's a long time frame, but things have accelerated ridiculously fast in the last 5 years, even 10 years before that. So When that comes, it'll come. What that means, no one's really going to know. It's not going to be like we wake up tomorrow and AGI is here. It's just going to be a progressive sequence of steps that are moving towards that, and it's going to emerge as it's going through and new technologies are updating. But then you have Jan LeCun from, I think he's at Anthropic now, arguing that we need to break the large language model, because that's not going to be the thing that's going to get us to artificial general intelligence, the AGI. It has to be a different type of model. He believes it's the world models. That's where the direction he's going. Demis Hassabis believes it's going to be large language models, or large language models will play a large part of whatever the other system is. So there's two competing models there, but now there's a lot of closed research compared to open research that these frontier research labs are doing. Previously, to ChatGPT becoming such a commercial success, AI researchers would research, publish papers, share their findings, and then someone else would extend upon it and make the next leap. That's not happening anymore. It's all proprietary closed knowledge inside these organizations. So everyone's racing ahead, potentially doing the same thing, not sharing any learnings. So we're probably going to have a slower rate of expansion compared to what we used to have, because the learnings aren't open and we're not building upon each other's knowledge now. Now it's proprietary information, and to help the company get to the next valuation limit. What's the next highest number I can raise because I've got something the other guys don't, or they've done something. I did A, they did B, and it's very similar, but we could have done C if we joined in together. So I think it's going to be a problem going into that space. And then again, OpenAI, well, we talked about it last week, they're going into ads. No one understands really what that means. They just hope it doesn't wreck the experience. They do need to monetize some way. If they thought AGI was coming tomorrow and then they had the ability to create this computer that could create unlimited wealth and value, why would they need to go into ads? So they're not as close as they probably portray in the market, just because they want to advertise and monetize that way instead. There's a lot of talks from the Davos meeting in Switzerland and AI talks with, I can't remember everyone I heard, but I won't go into all of this. So that's everything that's happened. I think the next few weeks is going to be a lot of discussion on these agent swarms, sub-agents that can run around and do things. Claudebot, Maltbook network, you'll hear me mention a lot, and that's going to be going in over the next few weeks with a lot of information about what's good, what's bad, what problems have happened, what new capabilities have emerged that people didn't know it could do, how they're sharing skills and developing more capability. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few weeks. But it's definitely the year of multi-agent, sub-agent, whatever that concept is, where you can have agents running and they can do things on their own. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Good luck with keeping up with the news and everything, but don't roll out Claudebot on Maltbook. Just watch, learn, and listen if you need to. Don't participate too much if you don't really know what you're doing. You don't want to expose anything that you shouldn't. See ya.